Hey, I'm Don Kisky. Thanks for checking out the Whitetail Freaks YouTube channel. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any new weekly content.
This week,
when you're hunting mature deer, you got one chance to kill that deer. You really can't afford to take chances and gamble.
for the first time since its inception, Don was left out of the top 10 buckdown in 2017.
This is what we work for all year. This is not anything but hundreds of hours of input.
As the days grow shorter and time is running out, he'll try and salvage what is left of the season and punch that buck tag before it's too late.
I got up real high, overshot the deer.
When talking about the 2017 season in Candyland, it brings to mind a couple of things. One being Candy taking 2 hit list bucks in the same week, and another being Don not tagging a buck at all.
We had 2 particular big bucks we wanted to target, and actually Candy killed both those deer and left me with nothing.
Candyland has been known to keep a steady flow of shooter bucks in line year after year, and it really is no surprise that it would inevitably slow down. Between EHD, poachers, hunting, and bucks wandering away to neighboring properties, just to name a few of the issues facing land managers.
This year's a tough year for us as far as bucks just disappearing. Now, whether they got poached, you know, gun hunters, the neighbors, and we just had a tremendous amount. I think I counted up the other day, 50% of our deer we passed, of the 3- and 4-year-olds died. At least I'm pretty sure they died. They disappeared. I've never taken another picture to them since.
Through the years, Don has been one to keep inventory on the bucks that roam his lands, and this is no easy task considering the amount of acreage he owns and leases. There are literally hundreds of deer scattered across his farms. Between velvet scouting,
Got my Bushnell binoculars, my Bushnell spotting scope here, with my, I got a phone scope adapter in my pocket, so my cell phone will here and film through the scope. Hopefully get some big buck footage.
Browning trail cams,
This particular spot right here last year, I have several big hit listers here.
and shed hunting. He gets a good idea of what bucks are available before the season even
You don't
starts.
do much shed hunting at all. The first thing I do is I pick an antler up and I look at the pedicle to see how fresh it is. And if you've shed hunted much, obviously if it's got blood on it, it's fresh. The thing I look for, it has this gray waxy ring. You see this gray ring all the way around this? They'll carry that waxy ring for at least 2 to 3 weeks and maybe up to a month. If they've lost the waxy ring, you know it's been off for over a month. And if the pedicle is brown, it's obviously a 2-year-old shed. But just an important tip, so you know you got fresh shed or not.
Although this may seem like a lot of work for someone that already has a full schedule due to farming, Don takes pleasure in managing his land. But sometimes during shed hunting, the reality of losing hit list bucks comes to light. And there's no pleasure in that.
Oh man, check that out. Got a couple big sides off a couple of my hit listers, old pig nose and the big 9. It's a great day, I'm all excited. I look up, I see a big rack sticking up, think it's a shed. It's a dead buck. Grappler, one of my top hit listers, laying there dead. Got a lot of encounters with this deer, a lot of Browning trail photos. Come check him out. How awesome is that? You hate to find him that way. I chased this buck all year.
The Grappler is a buck Don was keeping tabs on a few years back and started watching him at the age of 3 with a hunch he would be something special. And through his Browning trail cams, Don would learn that this is exactly what happened. The Grappler became a giant.
All year we looked for this deer. By the looks of it, he's been dead since gun season. I saw him one time about 2 days before shotgun season started. Evidently, just guessing, but he got across on my neighbors and they got a bullet in his guts. He come up here and die, but what a fantastic buck. Had a couple big points broke off right here. The beam tip's chipped. He's a 4-year-old deer. Like I said, a lot of history, a lot of encounters at 3 years old. I was really excited to give this deer one more year. I knew he was just gonna be a giant. He already is a giant. Look at those beams, check that out. Carries great mass. Well, that's one I don't have to worry about. That's why you shed hunt, to learn these things. Not only find out which ones made it, you know, which ones didn't make it, so.
In the world of whitetail hunting, stories are written and legends are made. But none of that happens without a few nuisances along the way. And finding a top hit list buck dead is the biggest nuisance of them all.
We struggle just like everybody else does. When you pass these deer, you're gonna take the gamble of the neighbor killing it or a poacher or something else. But it's just a gamble you wanna take if you wanna shoot a giant buck, because a giant buck has to be 5 or 6 years old. Do I put a lot of pressure on the first couple weeks of season? I don't put near as much as I want to. My problem is I'm farming. But when we do get rained out or whatever, you can't overlook this. The first 2 weeks of October are huge. These bucks are all very patternable. They're coming into these plots. If they come in one night, they're probably gonna come in the next.
We're talking about the early season. Don knows what needs to be done, but he also knows it's the peak of harvest time for any farmer. So getting in stand is hit or miss for him. But his farming duties are not the only obstacle he faces while the bucks are still patternable. Sometimes it has to do with the food source.
The only thing that we battle early season sometimes is the mass crop. You have acorns all over the ground, and generally they'll be under an oak tree eating acorns, wasting all their time.
Corn and soybeans are a favorite of the deer any time of year. But in the early season, when the acorns are rich in numbers, they really have no reason to leave the woods. This is when attractants and Antler King supplement nutrition can make a difference.
That's right, it's turnip time. Turnip time in Iowa, not tulip time, turnip time. It's middle of August, I'm a little bit late getting them in, but got the old Tree-Furt Whitetail Freak spreader and a harrow on behind me and some honey hole from Antler King in there. Got a new plot set up here. So this farm went into CRP and I had to have food plots on it, so I'm gonna scratch in some honey holes.
Getting the Antler King in the ground is one of the not-so-secret secrets used by the freaks to increase their odds of success throughout the year, but especially in the early season when the bucks are spending more time in the woods than in the fields.
If you're gonna kill a buck early season, it's hugely important to make sure those plots are planted really close to the bedding areas, because you may only have 15 minutes for him to slip out of the woods and walk onto that plot to get him killed.
Don did the work throughout the summer. He put the time in, and the stage was set. And as we already know, Candy capitalized on it and took down 2 hit listers in 1 week. But Don had a whole nother story to tell. He struggled with young bucks.
Nice 2-year-old 10-pointer. Boy, he snuck up on us too.
He struggled with broken bucks.
Split G3 buck. It's that broken one. Oh, there's another buck right there. 10-pointer. He broke too.
And he even struggled with shooter bucks.
Somehow. Top of the pack.
But the season is not over, and Don still has time to make things right.
All right, we're all set up. Got all of our gear in for the evening hunt. I brought some scent killer spray with me. Tonight, is what we like to do is come in here to these blinds. Because you're breathing in here, it's cold, you got all the condensation sticking to the roof, lots of human scent inside the blind. So we bring the scent killer gold, we spray down the blind, all over it. And when I do it, I'll saturate it. I think this really helps. We got it going on here now, don't we? And the chairs we set in, I do everything, chairs, blind, and all. If I got gear in here, I'm spraying the gear too. The main thing is, I got a perfect wind. Right now, it's right in my face, I probably don't need it, but when I leave here, the wind's gonna change. I don't want the blind to be smelling, spooking all my plot, so. Scent killer gold, good stuff, right there.
It's been a long season for Don. He's had plenty of encounters and one shot that went awry. But now, a couple of days before gun season, he has another opportunity at a good buck.
So it was probably towards the end of the season, there was a particular buck, it was called a short G210. Knew him very well from the year before. I actually found his sheds, got Browning trail camera pictures all year long. I didn't know for sure if we were gonna shoot this deer. I wasn't happy with the jumps he was making, so the first couple times I encountered this deer, I actually passed him.
Big buck coming, 10-horn. I know him very well. He's got kind of short G2s on him.
So as later it got, I still haven't tagged a deer. So I told Canny, you know what, this is a 4-year-old, but it's a buck that he probably didn't grow much at all. Maybe I should just shoot him. So I talked myself into it. Candy couldn't hunt that night, so I went out and I told her, you know, no big deal. I'm in a blind. I'll just pop into there, and if it's not perfect, I'm not gonna shoot him. So I looked up, just like always, here he comes, the last hour of light, walks out. It's gonna be a perfect 30, 40-yard shot. I get everything set up. The only thing is I'm concentrating on the camera gear now and not concentrating on everything else.
Got 2 other bucks at 20 yards. If he comes in, gives me a good shot, I'm gonna take that deer problem.
He gets out there to 30 yards, drew my bow back, and again, I hit the cam on the top of the ceiling of the blind.
Don would miss his second buck of the year. To say he's in a slump would be an overstatement. But not all is lost. The miss was far off, and the Matthews triax so quiet, the buck didn't even notice he was on the menu. Don may just get a second shot.
He walks out, didn't know what happened, starts eating again. I get back on him again, get the camera set up, get everything rock solid, grab my bow, and now he's out the corner blind.
Don would get a second chance after missing 2 bucks this season. And he would miss again. But hey, no one ever said that Don was perfect.
I'd like to share with you my excuses this morning. That was a fiasco. Came in here to scout, basically. Brought my bow just in case, because the buck's been locked down. So I pack everything in here today. Crawling on my hands and knees. There's 2 bucks right in front of the blind at 20 yards. Just small bucks. I finally make it in, get all the gear in here, get everything set up. Didn't even have time. My corn leaves and my trash fell into my window, so they were all full of trash. Couldn't do nothing because I had bucks at 15, 20 yards. So here comes this one buck I was going to shoot. 150-inch 10, I know very well. Took Browning trail pictures to him all summer. So I get everything all set up, and I'm thinking, oh man, this is going to be a chip shot. He comes right into my hole. And in order to clear my hole, because I hadn't had my windows all the way down, I got up on one knee a little bit and got as high as I could. And I didn't think about it. And at 20 yards, for the 3rd time now, my top cam on my bow hit the roof. I know what you guys are all thinking. That's a big excuse. It's not. It's the 3rd time I've done it. I got up real high, overshot the deer. I didn't know what happened. I was like in disbelief. He runs out there to 30, 36 yards, I think it was, I clicked him at. Now make sure there's no deer coming in. At 36 yards, I had to lean into my corner window. So I'm really concentrating. I got it just perfectly centered on him. I forgot to look up. top cam was already touching the roof. I just drew it back and checked. When you're shooting out of these blinds, you have to be totally aware of the roof. Like I said, now, I mean, I overshot that deer by 40 foot. I don't even think I saw the arrow on the camera. But I felt the bow kick when I hit. There you go. That's why you should have a cameraman, so you can concentrate on the stuff you need to be concentrating on instead of doing all the stuff. But anyway, not the end of the world. Great buck, great encounter. Missed him twice. He had no idea. I will have to brag on one thing. I'm shooting the new Triax from Matthews. It's the quietest bow I've ever shot in my life. That buck had no clue that anything happened. I almost got a third shot on him. He still just walked off after the third shot. So with that being said, if you're going to shoot out the corner wind of a blind, you better be all the way over on the other side of this thing so you're not shooting with the cam coming down the roof panel. Wow, what a deal. Oh well, gun season starts in 2 days, so that's strike number 3. That's 3 misses over the top because of that same reason. I better start learning pretty quick. Anyway, get my cameraman back tonight.
Don learned a valuable lesson about being aware of his surroundings, but it would seem Ameristep is already way ahead of him when it comes to their blinds, and have already redesigned a blind they call the Deadwood Stump KO blind, with a higher roof for situations exactly like Don was in.
3 times I hit the blind and 3 misses now. I was sick about it.
Now it's late season, and Don burned a bow tag. Of course, the Landrys made their annual trip, and Jacob would take down a buck.
Mr. Don told us to go ahead and shoot him, so we pulled the trigger and shoot him, baby.
But Troy would follow in Don's footsteps and get skunked.
We struggled this year in Candyland. I can't say we, Jacob shot quick, but I struggled this year in Candyland.
Candy did her part to provide backstraps for dinner, being she took 2 bucks early in the year.
All Candy been doing is bragging about her bucks and rubbing it in on Don and I.
Candy may be bragging, but she has every right to do it too.
I really didn't have any struggles this season because I was very fortunate when I did get to make a shot at a deer that I made a great kill shot, great kill. So I actually was very lucky this year. I struggled getting Don to kill a deer, that's about it.
Don will still have a chance in the second gun season and avoid burning a second tag. Will he be successful is yet to be seen.